What's going on? Welcome to Asian Cosell. So I have one here by Jason Whitlock, and this is the one with the fearless debater exposes black racists at Tennessee State. So this video has been going seriously viral, and yeah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen here. So let's hear from the fearless debater who had to leave campus.
It's for probably 40 minutes before we ended up having to pretty much have full security escort us off there into safety. And again, for our safety.
Did you receive permission? Did you alert someone that you were coming to campus? What's been your standard operating procedure as it relates to visiting college campuses?
Sure. In Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and even in Washington, when Cam visited it, the standard practice for universities is that there's a designated free speech area because of a public university. These are public properties. And in all of these states, you don't need a permit in order to have a table like we did and engage in civil dialogue with the students on campus, staff, anybody that walks by. To give you an example of this, people always that are not students of the campus walk their dogs in the evening across the college campus grounds in Georgia State University. They do that at Washington State University. They do it all around. HBCUs, most of the time, are private institutions. But the only reason why we ended up going to Tennessee State University is because the night before we found out that this is one of few public HBCUs. So this is a public institution. I want to debunk that right away. There's a common misconception I see on X right now that this is somehow a private institution. Private institutions absolutely have the right to regulate speech and who is able to be on their campus. But Tennessee State University, again, is a public university, which means that individuals like myself are allowed to be there. We're taxpayers, we pay for the institutions in the first place. But one thing I want to just kind of show everyone is that the school, and it seems like to be a repetitive pattern in Tennessee, that they don't allow individuals like myself to actually just show up to a public university. We need to let the administration know beforehand. We did that. We reached out as much as we can. We called them 10, 12 times. It goes directly, and I'll say this again, directly. The phone doesn't even ring. It goes straight to voicemail. Why? Because Tennessee, unfortunately, Tennessee State University, I just want to read this to you, has a red rating when it comes down to their freedom of speech. And this is given to them from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. Why? Well, they have policies that restrict free speech by having at least one policy. They have 3 policies, infringe on students' rights, such as concerning harassment or demonstrations. So the reality of it is that it seems like a public university, which is funded by taxpayer money, that receives extra exemptions for their HBCU status, is actually violating the Constitution and our ability to express our freedoms on there, because they have the ability to arbitrarily decide what speech is and is not allowed on their campus grounds.
What do you think about the allegation that you were endangering, the psychological safety of their students?
Speaking of that, yeah, these guys were endangering psychological danger. It turned out like if you have seen this viral video, it's more like most of the students were causing more of it, like not letting these guys get off campus.
By expressing your ideas. Have you run into a lot of students that feel endangered by their psychological safety, feels endangered by your ideas?
Absolutely not. And I don't know how my words, I'm center right. That's the funny thing about it. I can't imagine what they would label a far right person that would show up on campus, but they stereotype me. That's the problem. And the funny thing is I'm there in order to destroy stereotypes. Right. The reason why they quote unquote felt threatened is not because of my sign. My sign could have said whatever in the world it was. It was because the hat that I had on, Make America Great Again, and the color of my skin only contributes to that factor. In reality, none of my words, none of my expressions, if you look at the civil conversations that we were having, none of those things actually threatened them. They used that as an excuse for their behavior that day, as if it justifies why they should incite a mob and incite violence against us simply because of who I am. I just really don't get it, Jason. At the end of the day, it's worrisome that.
What time did you get there? How many discussions did you have that were civil, and how long did it take before it turned into what it did at the end?
Yeah, we got there around 3 p.m. We had about 5 minutes worth of friendly discussions. Let's say 10 minutes. We had a great conversation with two gentlemen.
Wow.
We shook hands afterwards with the first one. With the second one, we didn't get a chance to shake hands because of the mob already being there. And that's usually how our conversations go on every single campus. We arrive there. We let the administration know 10 minutes before we arrive there. They do everything to ensure that we are able to host this event. These schools actually want to have people there regardless of their position. And we shake hands always with individuals. Here, the problem is that we engaged in civil conversations. There was definitely people in the crowd that wanted to have that civil conversation. But then a group of 20 women just showed up out of nowhere as we were ending our conversation with the second person and started to kind of heckle us. The heckling then turned into yelling at us when another group of 20, 30 students arrived. And this all happened within a minute. And we realized quickly that we do have an issue here because we can, one, no longer have a civil debate with anybody that wants to have that debate. But two, it was becoming a little bit, you could see that I don't want to say that it was violent at that moment, but you could see that it was starting to gradually get worse and worse. And went again from just being like, oh my God, what are they doing here? Get off our campus, right? To actually yelling at us. And that gradually got worse and worse by the minute, right? We started to see more and more students show up. When you're in the minute, you don't know what's going on, but I would roughly say there was a group of 150 students that showed up within a few minutes after the first original group got there. And at that point, we're surrounded fully. Cops are around us. Our one private security guard is overwhelmed, can't really do much. And we start getting the threats. This is where I don't use these things lightly. I never throw around the word racism or anti-Semitic because
and you see here, like, they're just trying to have a civil debate, and then these women, these ratchet women, like take signs and do stuff, and they haven't done anything to this crowd. And this is supposed to be your future Americans, but this is happening at an HBCU, a historically black college. And it just makes even a lot of black people look bad at these HBCUs. It's like, yo, what happened to just civility, just having a civil conversation? And then this happens, and this stereotype, like, a lot of these people are just acting all ratchet and out of control. And they're in college. Holy moly.
I feel like it's overused and you shouldn't use it lightly. But we started to receive actual threats. And again, I never overused this, but racist threats, right? Saying, white boy, you don't want to be here in 5 minutes when I get back with that thing, right? And you got to understand, I don't take these threats lightly in situations where, as you can see, a group of a lot of people starts to surround us relatively very quick. I've been to a lot of protests, very well organized protests. Never have I seen a protest or whatever this is form this quick, even the most paid, professionally organized protests. And at some point, somebody charged at me. I don't want to say charged, but took a couple steps with a screwdriver that he raised and put it over his head and kind of went towards me. I took a couple steps back, went inside the circle of cops, and that's when I let my crew know we have to get off campus immediately. Excuse me, before that, I let the cop know. I said, hey, watch this individual. He has a screwdriver in his hand. He just put it back in his jacket. And I told my crew that we have to go immediately because we don't know what's coming next. They're already threatening us. These are racist threats against us. And now they're also starting to pull out tools. And I don't want to be there whenever they pull another tool out.
I'm asking myself, are these really college students? You're supposed to be really civil, but they're all acting like thugs and crazy with weapons. And then they're preaching BLM, which that organization hasn't done anything for Black people. The heads of that lived a luxurious lifestyle, but they're going to sit there and go BLM. And I'm like, holy. I guess, yo. And then if I'm a parent of these kids, I'm going to be like, don't you dare. You know, you could disagree, you can have civil discourse, but to see this crap, oh my goodness.
The cops immediately, and I'm thankful for them, they got together, and within 15 seconds, they came back to me and they said, we have to escort you guys off the grounds immediately for your safety.
Yeah.
And maybe to go back just a second ago, when the cops initially got there 10 minutes before that, they weren't there to kick us off. They asked us if we have a permit. We said, no, we don't have a permit. This is a public university. I believe we're allowed to be here. And then I asked them, it's on camera, you can hear it. Are we being kicked out? The cop said, no, let me reach out to my supervisor and figure out where you guys should be. If this is the appropriate place, let's figure out what's going on. So the cops weren't removing us off the grounds. The cops weren't, telling us that we're trespassing. That's another misconception that I see online. The cops were actively trying to figure out what can we do to host this event and where are we properly allowed to be. But how quick things escalated within those 10 minutes, the cops realized that regardless of where they put us, the amount of protection that we're going to get, a mob was inciting violence against us, to the point of where now there's a tool in the crowd that can be used to do anything against us. So the cops on themselves reached a conclusion that they have to escort us for our own safety. They took us to my car, which was parked about 7-minute walk away at the entrance of the school. And a group of 150 people, this is on my Instagram Live, so everybody can go see it. It's not edited whatsoever, marched behind us, screaming the most disgusting things ever in the name of Black power. That's what makes it worse. I don't want to repeat the comments that I was getting, but you can only imagine what I was getting. We finally arrived in my car. Before we arrived in my car, I told the cop that there's no way that we can allow these people to get into the parking lot because I won't be able to get out. I don't want them to see my license plate. I don't want anything. The cops were so overwhelmed. There's probably 10 cops, including our private security, 11 people there that are there to try and hold back 150 people, and they can't do that. And I just want to express that what pisses me off the most is that the statement from the school that this was professional and respectful manner, it's crazy.
Holy cow, man. So it starts at 3 o'clock. And by 3:10, 3:15, it's descended into chaos, it sounds like. And what time do you think you guys left campus? What time were you finally driving off in safety?
Jason, our entire video that we captured, which we captured from the moment that we sat down at the table till the moment that we had to actually pack the camera because we were being escorted, was 38 minutes.
Wow.
So just understand that we had 2 conversations that lasted 5 minutes each. And then the tape rolled for another 28 minutes after that, at 5 minutes of us prepping and whatnot. We were on college campus grounds for probably 40 minutes before we ended up having to pretty much have full security escort us off there into safety. And again, for our safety.
If you enjoyed that video,
That is crazy. I know it's a snippet of it, but yeah, I've seen the viral video. It's like, oh wow, yeah. And then you know, these kids are supposed to be what, the future of America, and they act like this. I'm still sitting there. Are you guys really college students? You know, I don't know, but for you guys to act that way, they weren't even threatening you, but you sit it there like take it as a threat. And then, of course, I've noticed the BLM sign. I'm like, oh. And a lot of these kids are so indoctrinated at these universities. And yeah, if I was to have children, I really don't want them in the United States going to these universities. It's really crap, you know, what we're seeing today. So yeah. All right. Shout out to Jason Whitlock, and yeah, shout out to that, you know, that TikTok guy that actually went and had the debates. And if any of you enjoyed any of this content, please give me the HKO special, help the king out. Hit the like, subscribe, and comment. And wherever you are, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video.